Truth Frequency Radio Network. KTFRN. Worldwide.
Welcome, Shadowland Voyagers. In the spirit of sovereignty and self-empowerment, we invite you to journey with us into the Shadowland. Let's rediscover, reclaim, and integrate the fragmented aspects of our individual and collectively held consciousness. Realize true freedom and restore authentic expression. Could it be the only way out is through the Shadowland?
Good evening, everyone. This is Sienna, and you are with Shadowland Voyagers. I am here with the Voyagettes, beautiful Christina Grant. I am here with you, right, Christina?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. We were having some technical issues, and they seem to be doing quite well at the moment. Elizabeth Hansen.
Good evening, everyone.
Right. Tonight's show, episode 17. Can you believe that? It's called Rise and Shine. Change is here, and resistance is futile. So cozy up with us. This is going to be a roundtable discussion with the Voyagettes, the three of us. And I am going to start sweetening our palate with a little read from a tarot card that is very relevant to this moment. It's the 16 tarot card, and that is the Tower. Throughout our lives, we draw people, places, and things to us to help us to maintain what we believe to be our identity. Piece by piece, brick by brick, we build this ego personality. And the ego, the building of the ego represents the tower itself. Then something happens that shatters our illusions, and the tower crumbles. In the Tower card, this sudden occurrence is symbolized by lightning striking, as if God himself has meteored out some divine intervention, which is pretty amazing because we know what just happened in the Vatican in the last little while. The two figures being ejected from the tower are symbolic of our dual nature. In life, there are two distinct ways in which the tower experiences. One is when something unexpected happens to us, and the other is when someone else deliberately undermines our personality and thereby damages us. Well, right at the moment, a lot of us are experiencing one or the other of those things. To some, the tower symbolizes failure, ruin, and catastrophe. To others, the tower represents the paradigms constructed by the ego, the sum total of all that the mind constructs to understand the universe. So either way, we must change our lives, or the change will be made for our lives. And so this is what's very much been up for the three of us. We've been talking this week and looking at the world around us, looking at our own lives, and seeing that there is massive change everywhere. And it isn't the most comfortable time for a lot of us in regards to that. But the opportunities are incredibly vast at the same time. Am I leaving anything out here, ladies?
No, I think you're doing a great job. And I just feel change is in the air. It's brewing. I can feel it coming. And I can start to see the changes that are manifesting in the external world. And yeah, I just feel like, well, change is natural, but I mean, it's part of life. So we already know that. But I also feel that I think it's going to be a paradigm shifter, what we're going through now. And that can be really scary. So I guess I just want to kind of talk about that, is how we can ride these waves of change gracefully, and not, resist them in fear, because I really feel that, like the Tower card, there is going to be some destruction to our systems as we know it, and structures that we've come to be familiar with. But through that destruction, a new paradigm can be born of that. So what does that look like? But first of all, we have to get through the destruction part. So like when you sort of remodeling a house, that's something that I've heard before, is you're remodeling a house and it looks really ugly and it's terrible at first, but then, the change is part of it. So
yeah, where do we start with the destruction part? I mean, it's a little bit, there's a lot going on in the collective consciousness of humanity. It seems that it's like a call to action, a time of change, but what that looks like, we can't fathom. We're constantly wanting to be safe and safeguarded from harm and all of that stuff, and eventually you just come to this place where you're like, what will be, and it will all be okay.
Yeah. But Elizabeth, I mean, first of all, well, we're always playing the devil's advocate with each other. But, I mean, I think it's a moment of breathtaking, looking straight at it in the eye. That yes, we're going to get into that. Well, I know you're already into that, but I mean, we are really looking at a very, very deep systemic change. I mean, we are at the edge of the cliff. The lemmings, like taking a deep breath, looking over, going, what? And we're talking about so many systems that are clearly unsustainable and unsupportable, that were the foundation of everything that we thought, a few decades ago was going to support us. A change that is going to shake us to the foundation. A change, we're talking about the crumbling of a civilization that we're seeing before our eyes in so many ways. And it is here. I mean, this was the realization we had as we were brainstorming for this, because we seem to want to put it off a little. It isn't quite at my front door yet. Maybe I have some more time to deal with this. And we all got that. No. Change is here right now. And so what is going to happen here? Are we going to simply repeat the cycles of history, loop back through time? So I thought it would be a really good idea to break down the history of change on our planet, the history of why it is so difficult to embrace, to let go, to surrender, to allow a death to occur profoundly in our own beings, in our own spirits, in our own souls, to go into this shadowland, and the gigantic knee-jerk reaction we have to flee, to escape, to avoid, to delude, and particularly at this time, to look for saviors, to look for some way to fix this thing, rather than to allow the house of cards to fall, to stand in the devastation, and to connect deeply and profoundly with all that is, and to be our own saviors at this time, to really birth a new human reality that is not within the repeated cycles of what keeps occurring over and over again, the cycles of history. Oh, I had a little quote, and I'm trying to find it because it was like so amazing to me. Yes, here we go. All right, see if you recognize this one, y'all. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was an age of wisdom. It was an age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of credulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period is far like the present period that we live in now. So you know what that's from, right? Are you
Dickens?
Yes, A Tale of Two Cities. I mean, when did Dickens write? This is hundreds of years ago. And we as human beings have recycled within the same, things have progressed. We certainly have, evolved to some extent, but in very many ways, we keep looping back through incarnational patterns. And so that is what I wanted to really dive into. What keeps us from making the kind of change that really we could make with this incredible opportunity? December 21st, 2012 is past. We're in 2013. We are still deep in the photon belt, deep in the alignment with the central sun, deep in the galactic plane. We are being upgraded and uploaded with gigantic infinite potential. And that is changing the frequency here as never before. And yet look around you. I don't know what each one of us is experiencing. I'm seeing a lot of conflict. I'm seeing a lot of crime and violence and people digging in their heels and running to old solutions is what I'm basically getting. Running to control, to more police state, as this huge wave hits us. A lot of people are trying to find the same old solutions. Mm-hmm. Have I lost my mind here? Are you perceiving this in any of these times?
Yeah, I feel that it's time that we step out of the box and not into a bigger box. It's time to create something new and not swing with the pendulum. We've been in this dark, negative polarity for thousands of years, and now it's like the pendulum has to swing to the other side. That's balance, right? So then we're swinging to this positive light. But for me, I feel that the true balance and 0 point, as some call it, is in the middle, is between the two. So for me, it's a matter of staying grounded and being aware and looking at it going, okay, how can I ride this wave? What kind of co-creating can I do for this new paradigm that isn't going from one side just to the other side? So I'm looking at that. And I've got a quote here too, by Gary Liu. I'm not sure who he is, but it's a good quote. He says, "This is your world. Shape it or someone else will." And I feel like that's what's happening as the old system and paradigm breaks down and the new ones will be built for us. And we have to have our say, and we have to create what that looks like. And we have to do it, for me, I have to do it in a way that is in accordance with life, with nature. I really want to break out of the all systems, because if you're participating in a system, you're not free, not truly free. So I'm looking at change on a bigger level, bigger scale for myself and my family. What can we do to create the kind of life that I've always wanted to live, which is just in harmony with life and not a oneness, one with. There's a difference there for me.
Yeah, there's a huge difference, and that's really brave because we're not going to push you into revealing a lot of the nitty-gritty details of that, but it's happening in like the final labor pains. Sure, you've given birth or been around, you've given birth, and people have been with people who've given birth. You're shaking, you're quaking, it's painful, it's stressful, you're already exhausted, you carried this baby for, it seems like, eternity, and now there's this arduous process. It's like you're out in a tormented storm in a little boat and you're getting beat up and you don't know if you're going to make it. It's not like we're all sitting around getting our nails done and thinking, well, let's see, what are my choices. A lot of people are going to have to do this on board a ship that is filling with water and rocking, and they're seasick, and the bills aren't getting paid, or somebody's dreadfully ill, or their house gets sucked into a sinkhole. The level of just the weather alone in this last year is huge, and the layoffs, and then with the fears of the things that could be happening, and the solution. So people are just whipped, and in that state. And this is, I think, why we're coming together, all of us, in that state, in that world. We're all in the collective. We're all living in this together. Why we keep slugging away, coming on air, is because everyone is so vulnerable right now. This is what I get when I connect to Divine Mother, to life itself, is please, my children are getting so beat up. It's going to be so easy to make choices that aren't really going to bring them where they really want to go. Because when you're that stressed and something comes and looks really good and wants to save you, whether it's a savior, an ET, an interdimensional being, or a new job, or a boyfriend, or a drug, or what have I left out? And of course, the Matrix is going to throw all of the side track, all the things that are going to get us trapped back, loop back into of the same old, because, and I just want to lay it out here. This is my reality as I perceive it. This is their final harvest. They want as many people trapped in this dimension, struggling in a lower frequency, drugged out, stressed out, chemicaled out, fooded out, perverted out, pornoed out. The list goes on. Traumatized, bottom line, traumatized as they can get. And from that place, they're going to offer a solution, Big Brother, Big Daddy, off-world aliens, interdimensional beings, whatever level, they're going to just make a run at it. It's such a merciless, cold-blooded final examination, because we're going to have to be so spiritually strong to stay in our center. And, that's why we're talking about shadow work, right? Because you cannot stay in your center if you are avoiding and escaping huge parts of yourself. You are not going to have sea legs,
That's right. You're just going to keep swinging from one side of that pendulum to the other. I actually have a few things I want to say after everything that you just said. I was like, one, I was just thinking about this and writing about this earlier today, was just be your own ship. Be your own ship. Navigate your own waters. Chart your course according to your flow with life. You don't need to hop on board any one ship. There'll be a lot of ships out there, a lot of choices. Be your own ship. So that was one. The other one, though, I have a quote from Steve Richards that I would like to read here. Okay, he says, while we're stuck in time, we swing between action, reaction, cause, and effect. The pendulum swinging back and forth. We cannot move forward in time while we're swinging in the pendulum of time. We have to come back to 0 point. Let the pendulum settle down. Be the observer. When we observe the game, we see the games all around us. We watch the games, but we don't react to the games. We don't play the game. We stay at 0 point, and as we observe the game, we can then start to move through time. We can start to evolve into future cycles of time, and we become aware through time. We can start taking back control of our being. It's simple, but awareness is the key. And so for me, that's...
Wow, that's great. Yes.
Yeah, so it's like just that again, we're just going to be presented with these opportunities that are just on one or the other side of duality. It's just back and forth, swinging from one side to the other. And just to like you're saying, just to do that inner work so that you can come to your own balance, so you can find that true harmony with life.
I just want to say I really appreciate you, Christina. I hope everyone realizes that I sort of dragged Christina and Elizabeth into this because I didn't feel to do it on my own, and neither one of them really had a lot of on-air experience or really wanted, felt that this was their natural calling, but they feel such a commitment to this work and to humanity and such a love for human beings, and that they are showing up. And this is really hard. to do these shows where we don't have other guests, and you have to pull something that's so deep inside of you in a really new milieu. And I just think you're both really brave, and I love you both a lot because I know who you are, and I know the space you're holding for humanity by showing up here, whether your tongue is tied, whether you feel like you're not saying what you really want to say or what you really mean to say. You're the real deal because you're both doing this inner work. And that's why it's holding such a field. I mean, there are times I get knocked out and I can't even talk for a show, and you cover for me, or one of us gets, something's happening, and we're holding it together, and it's a huge field to hold together. I'm not trying to go poor us at all. I just want our listeners to appreciate the both of you and the kind of, because why? Because we're trying to hold a space. We are holding a space that is outside of the construct here for you all to jump into and participate and enjoy and feel into, because that's what we need to create now. This is what you're talking about. You're talking about a real new place that's being created after thousands of years of being slaved in a construct that's been vampirizing our energy, that cold-blooded enslavement of humanity, and now is the time that we're breaking this, and a few brave souls in many different areas are actually doing the inner work, and that's the only way you can hold this sacred space for any other people. And whether you and Elizabeth can super articulate it, you're coming on every week, you're doing the research, you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and you're holding the space. So I just want everyone to know that too, and kind of, cut you some slack, and we can all breathe here and find out what we need to communicate tonight, because we do it as a meditation in the collective. And we all felt that there is so much potential rising and so much manipulation of each and every one of you to get you to stay in these cycles of time and go back in. And I mean, I personally don't feel that the ascension portal, call it what you will, opportunity is going to be here forever. I think that we have it now. And so this inner work really, really needs to be addressed now. And we need to show up with it 24/7. And there are many, many of us that can just have these, they can just get it. You can just go, oh, wait a minute, I don't need to be doing any of this stuff anymore. And when we get it, there's a huge support from life to bring us into the new. It's so much easier, and you both talked about that a lot. It's true, to get through things. Like Elizabeth, you were saying you were transmuting through a lot of dark energies for 2 days, and then you just pop back out, which I don't remember that happening a few years ago. It feels like, because I'm tuning in energetically, that the depth of what you're transmuting took a lot longer a few years ago.
Yeah, and I wasn't even looking at some of the stuff I'm looking at now. The stuff that I'm looking at now, I kind of put off. So this is like the deeper stuff. And yeah, I basically, grieved. It was just some feeling that I had, some feeling of disappointment. I thought things would be different by now, or things are showing up on the on the worldscape, and there's some things that are a little disheartening and a little scary, and if everything, what's going to happen, and maybe it's time to move, and maybe it's time to, I don't know, when change comes up on you, any fears that come up are there to be transmuted, and that's pretty much what occurred. And I mean, I won't go into the nitty gritty, but yeah, I agree. I let the grieving happen, and it was grieving. It wasn't like I sat there and cried for 48 hours straight, but I let the tears come when they needed to, and I let the contemplation and the questions about what I was afraid of come up, and it was just a feeling that I hadn't faced on that level before. So yeah, I mean, 2 days. You're right. A couple of years ago, that would have put me out for a good long while.
There are some people that are just organically called to the organic path of transmuting whatever is there to transmute. It's moving towards wholeness and integration. And there are people that are just at that evolutionary point where they can't avoid this anymore. Their soul is just going for it. I feel you're one of those people, Elizabeth, and which is challenging for you. But I also, and I've told you this before, this is what's so great that you're on air, because so many people are sitting there feeling that they can't get through it. The level of pain that is to be faced, even like you said, the level of, look at how much suffering is still going on the planet. There was such a huge hope that we would have ascended by now, that somehow this was all going to be transmuted, this new energy would kick in, that the old systems would have crumbled by now, that we would have gone through a lot of this and really be in the rebuilding phase. And we're still in the vice grip of so many dark forces, at least on the surface, that are getting more virulent by the minute. If a human being wants to reclaim their human heart, there is some grieving to be done. And I thank you for grieving for all of us, Elizabeth, because a lot of us aren't grieving. And what does that mean? And where are we at? You know, where have we given up our human emotional body that we don't feel this, that we're just numbing ourselves out to this?
Yeah.
We'll be right back, everybody. Go get some popcorn. It's all right. We'll get through this, I promise. Welcome back, everyone. This is Sienna Leah. I'm meeting with Christina and Elizabeth Hansen. This is the Shadowland Voyagers. You can get to all the archives of the shows and find our Shadowland Forum, which is a great place for you to start processing through your own Shadowland. It's very clean energy there, a lot of support, really evolutionary souls. That's shadowlandforum.com. The website is stealingthemoon.com, the archive of all the shows and a lot more, scheduling of future guests, the way to contact all of us. Join us in this journey. That's the whole reason we're here, is to help you have some place to begin to sort through this and to feel supported and not alone out there in the midst of this big storm that's building, and to make the very best you can, best your life in the midst of all of that. So, yeah, you were talking about what?
We were talking about Elizabeth's grief and releasing those fears, which I think is so important because it's those fears that keep us hooked or able to be hooked. And so there's some talk about that, like why worry? Well, if you have those fears, you need to look at them and you need to release them. It's really, really important to do that. Just shoving them under the rug and pretending they're not there isn't going to do you any good whatsoever, and that's how you're going to get swept up and taken for a ride.
Yeah, because when you've got some kind of illusion going on, which pretty much every single one of us is susceptible to, regardless of how far along in the journey we've come. There's you need to experience that feeling, whatever it is, and to try to just look at the positive stuff all the time isn't necessarily the answer. Although I have noticed that there are times when I'm like, you know what, you need to turn your direction back into gratitude, so that for me, so that I can get into a better mood and in order to see clearer. So, it's very easy to get swept along the illusionary path in an emotional downward spiral, and sometimes, I found myself going way too far down there, and it takes some time to come back up, and that's just the nature of the beast, and I think that there's so much going on right now in the world that, I started having like first I got elated, and then I looked into it a little bit deeper and realized, oh my goodness, okay. I got disappointed. I got elated and then I got disappointed, and then I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I just don't want to be here anymore. I can't see how it's going to be different. And that's the key word, is the how. We're constantly thinking that we know how to do this thing called life. And basically, life is, in my personal world, life knows how. That's right. So forgive me if I'm not being clear tonight. I'm still a little bit out of sorts, but not in a bad way, just kind of not my communication.
It's feminine. You don't need to apologize, Elizabeth. I would like to explain something about the emerging feminine. The divine feminine, the feminine energy is rising and is now the one really in leadership. It's trying to come back. But we have to remember, and I'm not trying to get in the whole patriarchy thing, Christina, here, but historical context is really important. When a aspect of our being, and men have a feminine side, again, what is it? Our emotions, our beingness, our sensitivity, everything that's been demonized through patriarchy, our sensuality, even our compassionate hearts and our heart and our love. All of this is the female aspect of the human nature. And it has literally been demonized for thousands of years and suppressed and vampirized and used and all of this. We can't just walk away from that and say it didn't exist. Now, there are some brave souls that are trying to come back and show up for life and give. And we're coming out of an autism. When you have been forced into silence in prison for many, many years, and then they take you out of your prison cell and bring you onto a radio show for to talk. But the feel that you're carrying, the love, the care, the depth is huge. I know that that's absolutely the case. There are people, used car salesmen are super articulate. There are a lot of us that have been dabbling in the dark powers, and I'm a recovering dark sister, so I have the gift of gab. I can talk articulately. That doesn't mean that my field is any stronger or more pure, which is the real content and the real importance, is how we truly show up all the way through us. That is the change, is bringing all of the polarities and all of the bodies and all of the experiences into a wholeness that we then give to each other and to the earth and to our communities and our loved ones and ourselves. And just because we can't sometimes articulate, and a lot of times, I know, Elizabeth, when you're in the thick of things, and when any of us are, we are in a nonverbal dimension. We're doing deep inner work, and people are frightened of this. But this is the level that it has to be done. And whether we can, even when you have an incredible orgasm, other than saying, my God, which we need to get over that one, is, there are no words, right? So we say that on the deepest experiences that touch our souls more than anything. Don't we always say there are no words?
Yeah, because it's including so many aspects. Those 2 days that I went through, so much came up. It wasn't just the issue I thought it was. There was so much involved, and it may take a little time for me to put words to it, but eventually I will. But there's just so much involved. It's like multidimensional when you're dealing with it, especially the deeper pains.
Well, we're all psychonauts. This is Jane Houston. I don't know if she coined the word, but she uses it a lot. I love that word because we're transversing through multidimensional realities, healing, bringing ourselves forward, retrieving our souls in the soul, and moving energies through the collective and birthing, hopefully, a new paradigm that truly is integral, that allows for life, that is not destructive of life any longer. This is a complete turnaround. This takes a lot of this transmutative time, purification time, inner time. But and you said so beautifully, I return to the gratitude, because even in its horror, it's magnificent. Wouldn't you agree, Elizabeth?
Absolutely.
And would you trade, if right now somebody could say, okay, Elizabeth, we're going to just shut you down and give you a day job, and you can just forget all this stuff. You have to go through one more, Shadowland voyage. Would you go, thank you, like, go back asleep. Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't go back to sleep. I might actually agree to it if there was something for me to do in that realm, yes. But I wouldn't agree to it if it was just to go back to sleep. But I don't think that this is the time to do that anymore. The whole diving deep into the human experience is there's still people out there that are here for the human experience alone and just are here for a lifetime. And others of us have been coming here for so long, and this is my opinion, that have been coming here for so long that, at this point it's not that the lessons are over necessarily, because we're still learning as long as we're here. It's just that some of us would like to leave now. So...
Well, it's graduation. I mean,
yes.
there are many people talking about ascension, about graduation. It is that time.
Yeah.
And life wants to help her children, as many of them. The Earth is ascending. The Earth is moving to a higher frequency. We know that by science. The whole Hertz thing. She's raised from 8 to 12 or 13 just in the last few years. The whole frequency is raising. This whole dimension is morphing. And there are many people that are ready to no longer be in a victim-predator reality, where we are simply fighting for our survival, and we are also being controlled, imprisoned, enslaved, and giving in to authoritarian models, whether it's the church or the school or your father or your husband or your wife or your whatever. The whole slave mentality is, wanting to leave what has been here. This has been and still is a prison planet. I don't think we have to feel shame saying, I'd really like this to be done now. What is it going to take? Let's break it down and let's get it done. Because the amount of agony of life is gigantic, and it still is. I'm not going to go into all the horror details. You can just go anywhere to know how many wars are being fought right now, how many children are starving, how many children are on the street hoarding their bodies for a piece of food, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. It's all happening right now still. So to say, I don't want to be here anymore for that, I don't think we need to feel guilty about that. I don't think that you're going to go slit your wrist tonight. That's not what you're saying.
No, but it sure does sound like that, like old paradigm talk. Yeah, it would sound that way. It was very scary for people to hear that. They'd be like, oh, we better call the authorities and have her, make sure she's safe. No, it's not like that. Definitely not.
I'm just so feeling you and I think that so many of us are feeling, we're done. We are done with, we don't want to be part of this dark, feeding, patriarchal, the systems that we've been a part of. We really are done with that, and we really do want to be free. So I really feel that, and I know that in order to liberate ourselves, we have to become completely aware. It's conscious awareness. We have to understand it completely, because if we don't completely understand it, that's how we're going to get sucked back into it. So it's just so important that we become really aware, but also not get engaged in fighting the system again. Or, do you know what I mean? It's like a fine line. It's this little narrow path.
Yeah.
To freedom.
Yeah, even just an instance of feeling a change coming on, and maybe somebody in your life isn't going along with that change, and so now you've got some dissonance. So do you try to control that person to go along with that change, or is that something that you do on your own? So now it just kind of gets a little bit like during this time, it seems like there's a split that could be happening, and that you've got like groups of people that want to, rise to the occasion, fight, claim sovereignty. And then you've got this other side that says, well, am I doing this by myself? Well, yes, you're a sovereign being, but I want, companionship, community, and all this stuff. So it starts to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm alone in these things, and a lot
of us are alone in these things.
Yeah.
But also, I'm alone in the deeper aspects There's just a very few people I can contact in my community. I have more soul connection, on the internet in different places. This is why but there are more and more people becoming aware. But the thing I wanted to get to was the razor's edge thing, the tightrope. Abraxas was the god of the edge, that consciousness is born on the edge. It always has been, and it always seems impossible. The choices that we're actually faced with seem extremely difficult, and asking everything of us all the time and not knowing where we're going to be at the other end. It is a very brave spiritual mission to decide you're going to do this. You're a trailblazer, you're a way shower, and you're walking off a cliff all the time, and you're on the edge of the mountain all the time, and we leave a lot of people behind. And sometimes there are families and the ones we wish so much that would come, and they aren't quite ready. Maybe they're so close but they can't make it, and then you do have to make some choices to continue to either commit to this evolutionary process of consciousness and have faith that there will be people who show up who are going to resonate with you, and they always do. It's been my experience. I've left many lifetimes and started over again. I've done this. I've lived this, and it's sad. The transitions can be hard, but then the upgrade is huge, and the soul group that enters is a vast improvement from what was left behind, in my experience of that, what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Definitely.
I wanted to
reminding of the poem, like look around and just having a reminder of the poem where it just says, we are the ones we've been waiting for, and to look around and be who we should celebrate. When I do that, when I look around and I see the connections that I have in my life now, and the same, most of them are with people that are in all different places in the world, but there's such a deep heart, soul, authentic relationship that I have with them, and I'm so joyful. I'm so grateful to have them in my life, and the support and the love and the camaraderie. I can't say that word very well. But we do have the support. So yes, we are alone. Yes, we are sovereign beings. Yes, we can do this. We have the power within ourselves, and we have the support. It's there. You just have to look,
Yeah, and
feel.
I want to point out something, tie that in with these calls to change. Like if you're receiving a call to make some kind of a change, it could very well be that, that change that you're being called to make is something that is going to set up, where you're acting out a purpose that you came here for. So I hope I'm making sense. But some of these calls to change.
Yes, you're making it. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Some of the calls to change are actually calls to action, and we're more afraid of the actual change because we're told that we have to stay stable, and what does stable mean? Stable means that you create a static life for yourself, and nothing can break that apart or destroy it. But it's just an illusion. That's the illusion that they've got us buying. I mean, when we were more in tune with Mother Earth, she'd say, "You guys got to move out of here. Something's going to happen here," and people would be like, "Time to go," just like the animals, But we don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. We build hard structures and box structures, no less, to stay in one place, and we've got everything that we've worked so hard for invested in this structure or this structure. So, and there's no way that you could be serving the purpose that you came here for in that space or state in life of saying, hey, I'm about to uproot you, but it's all good. I'm taking care of you. It's all taken care of. If you go into fear, you could mess it up, though. That's kind of where I feel that, many, many people are right now.
Well, I feel like you don't mess it up in a sense. Like if that's your soul plan, then it's still going to happen. You're just not going to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
It's going to pretty much suck. Because you're like, someone like pull. I just got this vision of someone getting pulled and their nails are dragging into the ground. And like, no, I don't want, just that. Or you can just gracefully move with life and move with the change. And because you feel it, you do feel it deep inside. You know what to do. Trust that. Trust your heart to tell you what is right for you. I mean, fear comes, fear's in the mind, and again, we have to look at that and release it, but we can't let it control us. And I mean, people get so caught up in that. What do I do? I'm scared. I'm feared. I get that. But we have to let go of the fear, feel deeper, and just do what feels right. Trust your inner guidance.
Yeah, what I found is to let the fear express itself and to say what it has to say, and let it be okay. And know on the other end of that it's not necessary to fear, like on the other side of the experience. But if we're just saying, going through this life in bravado without seeing clearly, because when you look at what the fear is saying, you can clearly see the illusion, and you don't have to buy it every time it comes up and pokes you at that button. You actually remove the button when you allow the fear to say what it has to say, because you can see through the illusion of it. Maybe not in the moment. Like for me, I had to grieve. I had to grieve the disappointment. But there was fear in there, and I had to hear what it was saying. Otherwise, I was subject to that suggestion every single time it comes up. And so when I can see the illusion in the suggestion and honor it at the same time, because it is serving, it's serving its purpose, but it's not serving my purpose. I'm the driver now. I'm the one in charge. So what have you got to say? Stop doing this through emotional outbursts. Let's really get down to the nitty gritty. What are you saying? Well, if this happens, then this. Well, that's just a flat out lie. I don't know that for a fact. And then I can.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and then I can remove the illusion that fear hooks into, like that fear suggestion can hook into that illusion every single time, unless I let it play out inside myself and actually see what the suggestion is actually saying. Because we get bombarded sometimes with these thoughts in our minds and all the things that it says without actually bringing it to words. In my experience, it's rarely brought to actual words in my mind. It's like emotional jerks, Here, have this emotion, have that emotion, and I don't know what it's about. So,
Well, everybody goes through, what you're talking about is the mind control, and you're stating it beautifully, by the way, Elizabeth. Everyone goes through it in a different way, but you're breaking your mind control programming. Right. That's what you're talking about. And at the basis of all of it is fear. And I want to break down some of the history of why we are so terrified, because I know I had a lot of shame, and a lot of people have about shame about how much fear we have, or how much whatever that destructive emotion we have. There's good reason why we have it. And you made a great point there, and that is you're loving it all to death. You're loving it all, whatever it is, and giving it, it's all there. It's all informing you. This is what Freud talked about, the id. But Freud made the id into this horrible thing that had to be controlled. Patriarchy had to control the id because all of this insane emotion was just chaos and insanity, which has been the premise of our civilization. And now, but Anna Freud, after he died, said, wait a minute, no, the id actually is trying to inform us of something. Let's get down and listen to what it says. This is a fairly recent revelation, and you're one of the poster girls for this, is dive in and find out. In the stormiest sea you can imagine, there's a point and a reason, and when you nail it and all the pieces and all the layers, then boom, you pop back up. You and Christine have told me numerous times you take yourself off for a few days or a week or whatever, a few hours, and you let yourself, jump overboard into this, and there is an intelligence in it, and there is a organic healing in it. It is not pure chaos. Is that true?
Absolutely true. Absolutely. It feels like chaos in the moment when you're in that. Like when I let that expand it out, that feeling that was elusive behind emotion, the raw, what is really going on, when that expands out, and I can see it, then I don't have to get stuck in that particular lie again.
And of course, that's your commitment. I mean, now, she could decide to, if she wasn't really about becoming awake and aware and not looping back through time. She could indulge whatever, get somebody to feel sorry for and carry on and be a drama queen. I mean, you could get lost. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the difference is you have a commitment to get through this stuff, and that is making all the difference. You have a commitment. I don't know how you would say that in your own words. I'd like to hear how you say that. What is your anchor? What is your way of directing this?
I lived the other way. It didn't work. To me, yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. It didn't work. I mean, I tried. I had a whole group of friends that would let me go into those emotional cataclysms and be a, energetic vampire and all of that stuff. But I owed them back, and the amount of times I got to do that were less and less. So I wasn't getting my feed, So I was kind of in these courted relationships and realizing that it wasn't working first of all to my advantage, but it just wasn't working. There was no there's no life in that existence. It's mere existence.
Well, I don't know if everybody knows what a courted relationship is, so I'd like you to define that a little bit. But there's no shame in the only way we can become conscious is to dive into our experience and learn these things. That you're saying you jumped in and you made all kinds of crappy choices and lived all kinds of nasty realities, and that's how you learned. I mean, this is...
Well, I got to tell you, the 2 days, it was Thursday. I think it was Thursday and Friday, where I was really just feeling it, and all kinds of other thoughts went through my mind, like, where are all my friends now? It was so... There was such a spiral of illusion, because I hurt. That was it. I just hurt. And there was, people can't save you from that which you created. You have to save yourself. And so the relationships I'm in now, they're not going to put up with that. The emotional diving. I mean, there's a point where you can kind of talk about it. So, and then there's this aspect where I want somebody to make me feel good right now because I can't stand how I feel. I can't stand allowing this to expand, and I felt that deeply.
We'll be right back. Personal responsibility. We change our own energy states. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting worldwide in complete defiance of the U.S. Patriot Act and the NDAA.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Welcome back, Shadowland Voyagers. Your experience, perception, and questions are deeply appreciated here. Join the conversation. Call in at 213-233-3998 or 888-832-2027.
Yeah, welcome back. All right, we're into hour 2. This is Sienna Lee. I'm here with Christina Grant and Elizabeth Hansen. How are you doing, ladies?
Good.
Doing good.
Okay, I want to read this thing. So here we are, hour 2. And this is our episode 17, everybody, which is incredible. We've done 17 episodes together. This is called Rise and Shine. Change is here. Resistance is futile. I love that. And Christina kept saying, oh, my God, 17 is the star card. So we looked up the star card, and it's just so synchronistically right on for exactly what's up right now. So I'm going to read this. In the star card, the woman is naked as she empties out 2 urns of water. The woman is naked, okay? The emotional waters are emptied, let go of. Her nakedness, a symbol of her acceptance that any pretense is over, and that she must now face the world as she truly is, without any artifice. She is infinite potential, galactic center, divine mother. Then it's heavily ruled also by Uranus, which symbolizes the sudden change and the release from inhibition. So here we are, and that's what we're doing tonight. We're falling into a deeper level of being transparent with you all. This is who we are. You know, we are 3. In some ways, we're dark sisters. We're women who have dived deep into their shadow aspects and are emerging out of it. And from that place of knowing the power of that, wanting to share it with you all. So that's my 2 cents worth on that.
Well, in regards to the star card, I'm not a tarot person, but it was so fun when we looked it up, what it meant, because you're right, it's so appropriate for the transformation that we're all experiencing and humanity will be experiencing shortly on a larger scale. But also just for me, the star, shine like the star that you are. You know, we are all stars. We have our inner light, and to let that guide us through this transformation. So for me, that was what this symbolizes to me. And just that, not hope, but just that knowing, that guidance, and knowing that everything will be okay. And just to embrace change.
Yeah, trusting in
that all. We're just embrace change, right? Just embrace. You always make it sound so simple, Christina. I love you so much for that.
You know, I've had a lot of difficulty in my life, and I've learned, I guess, I don't know the hard way, but the way I learned in my journey, that yes, it's best to embrace change. It's a lot more, I don't want to say easy, because change is often very difficult. But it's the most graceful way of moving through change, is to work with it. And same with labor. I mean, when you're in labor, if you're fighting and resisting your contractions, you're going to prolong your labor. It's going to be more painful. So working with contractions, working with change, is how we can move through this birthing process.
And I think that what you were talking about earlier are being so aware that so many people are going to be taken back into incarnational cycles, whether into looping back through time, into nasty scenarios. They're going to be entrapped in slave minds that are going to co-opt them because it's so darn uncomfortable right now. And I think that this is part of what is in our hearts, and I feel it in your heart, Christina, that you want people to really make it out the other side of the birth canal. And you can see this choice is so huge,
I think it's so huge, and I think what I feel is this, I don't want to use the word danger, but we're talking about being on this razor's edge, and we've got one side which is very negative and dark, and you've got this other side that's going to really be tempting us. It's going to look like freedom. It's going to look so much better. And in some ways, sure. I mean, obviously, we all know that positive experiences are more enjoyable than negative, but we also know, well, I know in my journey that the dark and the light are equal, and they're like the positive and the negative. They're not one is better than the other. And so I feel this, we're coming to this time where the true, I guess the word organic path, if you want to call it that, is a merging of everything. It's a balance. And so in my heart just feels like just expressing this, I didn't want to call it a warning, because everyone's on their own journey and everything will be right for you. But just to know, just to trust your own inner guidance, that's all. Just follow that.
Well, it's still outsourcing yourself to any solution that's coming from the outer is, in my opinion, dark. I don't care if it, Jesus flying down on a UFO saying, we have all the technology to save you. You poor, stupid humans are just about to destroy every ecosystem, which is true. And you're so toxic and you're so unconscious and you can't move through all of that yuck inside of you. We'll just take it all from you. You don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to suffer. It's over. Come with us. I mean, I'm saying this, and it's like, sign me up. I want to go. I mean, I actually did have a UFO experience like that with the Galactic Federation of Light. And at the but I was down on my knees crying, begging for them to take me. I mean, this was 40 years ago, y'all, so, you cut me some slack here. But, because they lifted me into such a vibration of love as I'd never known, a total telepathic knowing. Nobody ever in my world had ever touched me in that way. And it did change my life because, like I said, it was groundbreaking. But, I mean, I was begging and crying, take me with you. I can understand are there going to be people at whatever level, I mean, that are, and right now there are people, and you're seeing it too, Christina, you're right in the thick of this.
Yeah, and I feel exactly what you're saying is that as this old system collapses, it's going to get very ugly. It's going to get very scary for people who, for whatever reason, just haven't found that flow with life. And so that's the danger, because then they'll be presented with something else, and they'll be begging for it. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And it'll come. It'll be given to them. Sure, here you go. Sign up or whatever. Agree to this. You will have to agree. You will agree to it on some level. And that's the.
And people are already deeply embedded in different practices that make them feel better. And I know people where I live that have spent 40 years in different practices. And I feel that the basic core of those practices are very giving away of their power, and that I can feel interdimensional manipulations, and that there are some dark other that they're completely oblivious to, because they're so numbed out and they're escaping so many aspects of their own unintegrated self that it just, and they are becoming very obnoxious people in my community. And they have no idea. They are like Paul Levy in our Whitaker, I don't remember which episode that was, but Whitaker, where he says, when you're taken over by Whitaker, you have no idea. You are completely blind. And if anybody says to you, you are so dark right now, or you're really hurting me, or you're really being insensitive, you go, you're so crazy. What are you talking? You're just projecting complete denial. And I'm experiencing these people that are really deeply embedded in spiritual practices that are not generated out of bringing out their own inner light, but are bringing in light from other sources, or giving, outsourcing their themselves in a variety of ways. These people are getting darker and darker, and becoming less and less possible to even reason with them. They're becoming, I have heard the word spiritual fascism. I'm feeling this. And if you even bring this up, you're a target of huge stonewalling and being put. This is very, very scary stuff. They're playing here, okay? These dark beings, or you could even just say that the Illuminati, the power elite, whatever level you're comfortable with looking at here, they're not playing. They're playing for keeps. They want as many of us to be trapped here with them forever, and they don't care. They are cold-blooded. They don't have this human heart compassion. We don't even believe these beings can be like this. But they are going to, and the maneuvers are, they're just plowing them on. They're just coming in new robes, new coats, new garb, new lingo, and it's the same story over and over again. And I know that you're seeing that, and it's kind of breaking our hearts too, because so many people who could really awaken right now if they would be willing to voyage through their own shadowland. We're just so programmed to make this the absolute last thing we will ever do.
Yeah, it's the last thing anyone wants to do. But once you start doing it, it becomes really just very much a way of living, you know? It's not a big deal after a while.
No, it certainly isn't. I think that, you know, you're hitting the nail on the head with regard to the disappointment that I felt. It was like, oh my gosh, you know, what is it going to take for all of humanity to look at their shadow and actually do the look and take responsibility for that aspect inside of themselves that is complicit with the external world, you know, and I realized what a huge feat that is. And then I hear, well, it's a waiting of the heart of mankind at the time, you know. And so I feel like right now we're being given a little extra time because so many of us, it seems like these energies are like shifting the direction of our understanding of what's happening right now in a real way.
Some of us.
Some of us. I mean, look, to ask for everybody to you know, come into the light is huge. You know, it's huge.
And if you're asking if you're wanting for everyone to come into the light, well, then you're not honoring their journey. I mean, everyone's on their own journey. So, you know, there's an opportunity here for us to awaken and to find each other in the dark, and to create a real path out of here, in a sense. I mean, not that we need to go anywhere. I mean, we're staying on Mother Earth and we're creating a new paradigm, but a way through the duality. And right now there's a lot of polarization happening, and I know we can find, we all want the same thing. So ultimately, not all of us, but a great number of us want the same thing. So, you know, finding the balance in that and coming together in a common goal that we all share. I know that can happen, and it's possible, and it's an opportunity. It's on the table. We just have to make it work, you know?
Can you talk at all about spiritual will? And maybe you don't use those words, Christina, but I experience you as having a huge spiritual will. In other words, that no matter what's going on, you have a hardcore dedication to show up in this balanced, non-dualistic way and to serve eloquently and with a sense of conscience that, and I know that, I'm wondering how you got this way. I mean, did you develop this in another lifetime? Are you actively intending that? Because that seems to be your sword to cut through the darkness, the unconscious, and you wield it very, very continuously. It's very, very rare.
I don't know. I just am me. I don't know how I really got here, but or why or how I do what I do, but
well, I mean, before you were kind of a hellion. I don't know if you want to talk about that on air, and I don't want to push beyond your comfort zone of transparency. But I know you had some other aspects, and
I guess it's just my journey. My journey was what brought me here. You know, my life's journey, and just a commitment to my own evolution. Like the nicest thing my husband's probably said to me, one of the nicest things is just that he's never met anyone who's more committed to become and returning to their authentic being and finding true happiness. And that is me, and that's been my life. And so I guess just having arrived there, I had to learn along the way, and now I can I'm just in my experiences, and so when I speak, it's coming from deep within, and hopefully there's, not from ego, although there's times where I speak from ego, but that's less and less. So, yeah, it's just my journey, just being consciously aware.
You're really enjoying your life. Now you're going through a huge, and so you're transmuting some things at this second, but you're really high on this journey that you're on, aren't you? I mean, you're really loving it. My experience of you.
I absolutely love life.
taking you higher and higher, something like that, as my experience of you.
It's just, for me, life is so awesome. It's so challenging and hard, but it's opportunity at every corner and every moment to just keep expanding and growing and becoming more aware and more conscious. And it's so fun to me in a way, even though, again, it can be really hard and challenging. I just love it. I love life. I love being alive. I love being here. I love being me.
You know what? I want to ask you a question, Christina, because I totally have this thing going on with integration with the third dimensional reality and all this stuff that just blows your way. How do you integrate chaos into that ease and grace that you're experiencing going with flow every day? Like when you find chaos in the external world, how do you integrate that in your daily reality of going with the flow?
Well, at first it's really hard. It's like chaos, and I want to like run, like, scary, it's kind of like the deer in the headlights. But then I just have to just like, okay. And I just see it as an opportunity, and I'm just going to go with it. And I just roll with it and take each moment as it comes and just really try to flow with it. That's the best thing I can say. I mean, every situation is a little bit different, so it's going to bring up different things for me to look at and to look at, why am I having fear around this? Why am I resisting this? So it's just a matter of always looking and feeling and releasing and moving forward. If that makes any sense.
So it seems, it totally does. It feels to me that you've done enough shadow integration that you have a core, what I call it's like the central channel. That's what Asia taught me, my teacher. It's not Kundalini. I'm not talking about chakras or Kundalini. I'm just talking about the core of your being. The core has formed. This is the birth of the self. When you have integrated enough aspects, the self is born, and it's a core being that is connected to life. And it is full of the love of life. It is a natural high. It is a great sensation. And you don't want that to go away. So you have to keep sorting through and making sure that you don't go into your patterns, because that is the authentic self. That's the authentic energy at the core. And then the patterns keep on trying to come in. I mean, they keep on trying to fill us up with this or that. And so making it conscious keeps pushing that out so you get to live in that really groovy space. And I think you've gotten,
longer and longer. Like Elizabeth was saying, when you look at that and you find the button and then it's gone. So every time you do it, you get to stay in that authenticity longer and longer. It just becomes more and more just who you are. I feel really just connected with all of my being, not just my physical body, but just who I truly am, my infinite eternal self. And but when I get pulled out of it, there's still patterns. Things still come up for me.
Well, we're still in the construct,
yeah. So, but it's more, the more you do it, the longer you can stay. And then it becomes this point where you're in your authenticity more often and longer than you aren't. So for me, my journey was most of my life, I was in inauthenticity and unhappy and unfulfilled, and I just out of balance. And so as I did this work and was just dedicated to my evolution, finally I got to this point where I was more expressing my authentic self, and I was happier more. And that really started, when you get going like a snowball, and then it really starts, you're really on it then, and it just becomes more and more and more. And when I get pulled out, it's like I used to be really comfortable in that negative vampiric kind of energy. Mm-hmm. I'm not comfortable there anymore. It's like, ew, gross.
Yeah.
Get me out of, it's like, so I want to deal with it right away, get back to being high on life. And I don't drink anymore. I've been drinking for a year now. I don't want to mess up my high. I love it,
Yeah, I actually stopped drinking and stopped all drugging in the 2013. And I actually had a vodka 2 nights ago, and it was horrific. And I thought, wow, I was wondering why I was on all these funky energy states. But keeping that high going, it's part of it is just that pure connect to life, and you do not want to mess it up. I'm starting to experience that, and I used to have a little of this and a little of that, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with any of that. And I'm not saying there is anything wrong. There are times when you just need to do that stuff. This isn't right or wrong thing. I never thought I would get there, frankly, I'm experiencing that as well. And I experienced that with you, that you have this feel going, and it's deep in your core, and that you're loving it. Yeah, you're totally and I know you weren't there all your life, because you told me some stories, and you don't have to share those yet. Maybe this time we do. One day you're going to tell them on air, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be the time. Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about why we are so frightened of deep systemic change. And, I mean, this goes into kind of super big overview stuff. But I wanted to wrap it down, because even though you are the poster child of making shadow warm and fuzzy, a lot of people are scared to death to dive in and to experience that. Now, and I really believe that the true history of Earth, I'm a Michael Tsarian, by the way, and I mean, I've studied many, many different points of view, and I don't have total recall of actually what happened phase by phase, but I do feel that we went through a cataclysmic event as human beings, whether it was that planet that blew up, or called the Great Flood around there, the pole shift. A lot of people have different stories around there, but everybody has some story around there. There seemed to have been a gigantic event, Tsarian really holds firm that also there was a lot. This is where the aliens started to break the human genome and splice with our DNA, and other people, John Lash and the Gnostic, he says that the genome was never broken into. And I can't say, first, I just sense it deep in my intuitive knowing that there was a gigantic trauma. The human being was humane before this. I mean, they were at a lower integral rung, but they were humane. And that this blew us apart. It blew us in fragments. There were massive earth changes. And so there were traumas that were too much to cope with, and we were messed with in ways that really, really fragmented. This is when the ego came on board, which is this tiny, immature, all about me, fragmented, out of control, behaving badly aspect at that stage. And it's been trying, our beautiful little tiny, immature, impetuous, unmanageable, fragmented egos have been trying to manage this whole ship for a very long time. And the bottom line is that it really doesn't have the equipment to manage it unless it's really steered by our higher selves. And there was a lot of manipulation to get us disconnected from our higher selves. This is basically what the whole engineering was. Tsarian goes into that in detail. Others do too, that there was genetic splicing to really enslave the human. He had to be disconnected from his ability to connect to his authentic self or his infinite aspect or who he really is, and shut him down to the place where he could truly be not only a slave, but totally controlled. It's so vulnerable, so lost, so fragmented, and at the core, this trauma, a trauma that he was really that he wasn't able, just like an infant, like a child, if a child is super traumatized, sexually molested in infantile time, before they have a rational mind, before they can put this in a different aspect, they can split off into a subpersonality or many to try to cope. Anything, what I'm saying is anything to put that away from themselves, because it really literally is too big to handle. And I do feel why we're so terrified to integrate ourselves. We'll be right back, everybody. Don't run away. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This is Sienna Lee. I'm here with Christina Grant and Elizabeth Hansen, and we are Shadowland Voyagers. You can join us on our forum at shadowlandforum.com, where a growing community of very resilient, dedicated, and awake and aware dark sisters and brothers are transmuting their shadow aspects. It's a fascinating group of people. It's a wonderful group of people, and it's there for you. Yeah, it is. And
we're quietly growing, but it's very supportive. It's just a cool bunch of folks. You know, really authentic, honest, courageous. It's pretty cool.
It is. They're amazing people. They brought tears to my eyes more than once. They flabbergasted. And they're growing leaps and bounds. They're really going for it, a number of them. They're awesome. And so also you can visit the website, stealingthemoon.com, where our archives are, our schedule, where you can contact us, and where you can receive more help and support and information, whatever. And you can, we would love to hear from you, where you would like us to go, what you would like to hear, what you need from us too, because we really are here to serve everybody who is ready to take this journey. Absolutely. So we were talking about this huge, our history. And what happened is that most of us were captured at that time. And the way that we remain captured is with this huge memory of trauma that we don't remember. And so then we've been offered various different programs for control, to dominate, various lies. I mean, one could say, how could we be those big of idiots that we've been allowed ourselves to be fooled for these many years, just going along with a system that truly doesn't have our interest in heart, and just bending over and taking it over and over and over again forever. And I feel that this is where this is how I understand it, because it never made any sense to me, and I had a huge judgment going against humanity and myself for the trap of this. And this is where the embracing self-love in all of our aspects, and also understanding where we've come from. We have been hugely manipulated. We have been hugely damaged. This is not an easy thing to awaken. And there's a lot of programs also that if you risk waking up, they threaten you with, right? You know, no more protection. You don't get support from the tribe, from the group, from the hive mind. Your benefits get canceled, you know. You get singled out and destroyed. Your comfort, the comforts get taken from you. They threaten you with a lot of things. And in certain places, I think more in the past, but in some places still now, they make it difficult to leave the artificial construct, don't they?
Yeah, I just need to say that we need to take this to a whole nother step of responsibility. I mean, nothing at all can happen to you that you did not agree to on some level. We are responsible for all of our experiences, everything. We create everything for ourselves. Sure, from a higher level, but it's still our creation. And so what we can do with that, we get manipulated. But it didn't just happen to us, like just randomly. No, we created something that got that pendulum swinging, okay? So we have to right now become aware, become conscious, take responsibility, and that is what brings us into balance. That's what gets us out of being able to be manipulated. That's the path, you know?
And every single thing that comes your way is there for a purpose, whether you realize it or not. So just to put that as an assumption, you know, there is a purpose, even if I don't see it at the moment. Right. I mean, you know, some of this stuff that we're reading on the internet, it's not really happening to us. It's conversation and experience within the collective. So learn to decipher and see your world as it is, as well as, some people are being called to keep tabs on certain things, which is part of, like I said, anything that comes your way there's a purpose to it. It's not there to,
that's right,
hurt you. It's there to maybe, like in my instance, create necessity so that I could see a little clearer as we go along, and I don't have to be pulled down that road again. So, but there's definitely purpose. I mean, it created necessity for me and clarity, and what I thought was a traumatic occasion, So to me, it's like when I look back through my life, every single thing, victimized, traumatized, whatever, eventually all roads lead to the same path. It's like I wouldn't take anything away, even the horrific stuff that happened as a kid. It's there for a purpose. Wake up really fast. Whatever's in your face is certainly has such high value for you and you in particular. But be deciphering about what is actually happening in your environment and what is being made a big deal because you saw it on the internet.
That's right.
Like, be clear.
Right. Because there's going to be so many hooks out there. I mean, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Right.
There are going to be so many avenues to choose. I feel like what we're coming to is this conjunction where it's like we're all coming together in this one sort of location energetically, and then we can go all these different directions. And so, if you see a hook, or it doesn't mean you have to buy. I mean, if you're feeling neutral about something, stay neutral about it. Don't get involved, If you feel like you need to investigate and check it out, go check it out. But try to stay detached and just be aware and get information as opposed to just getting all into it. Whatever it is, check it out before you bite. Swim around that hook a few times. Have a really good look, Make sure it's not just something that's trying to capture you, or for lack of a better word,
Yeah, that hook for an emotional reaction is out there everywhere you look. And it's not really happening in your environment. That one of the detriments of having access to, all this information. But if you're being called to something.
Interesting. What you're talking about, neutrality. And Steve Richards was calling allowance. I mean, other people were. He says allowance right now is a higher form of love than what we call love is just often not love. I mean, it's just the most desecrated word in the world. Every form of manipulation and courting is used in the name of love. But allowance for ourselves and allowing others. And the idea that this neutrality that you're talking about, witnessing, because a lot of times we're saying, oh, you're so cold-hearted. Don't you care what's happening to your mother? Look at her. And, there is a kind of where we can shut down and become cold-hearted, but there is another place where we're awake and aware, and it's actually a part of self-love, isn't it? Boundary creating and this witness. I mean, how do we actually do
It's so you see a story, someone having an experience, you can feel compassion for them, but you don't have to become part of it. You don't have to become part of it. You can stay neutral, allow them to have their experience because it's their experience to have. And so that truly is, that is love. But there's also something else you were saying that I wanted to comment on. I lost it. I don't know.
The witnesses.
The witnessing. Yes, the witnessing. It doesn't mean that, to be an observer to the game doesn't mean you just sit back and do nothing. No, create your game, create your reality, your path. But it doesn't mean you have to be involved in everyone else's. So you can witness their games. You stay neutral to what everyone else is going through and just keep moving forward in your own journey and your path.
Exactly. Some of these games are played out for specific people, but not necessarily for me, unless I choose to go into that emotional loop with it. But let's say on the political front, I've never been interested in politics, and all of a sudden something comes into my frame of reference, and I'm like, what is this? and I get all emotional about it. And it's like, well, I'm not exactly a politician, and I'm not in a position to make great change on that front, So, like I said, you act within the parameters of what life is bringing to you. And if it means that you've got to go through, looking within, that's first and foremost. And I am of the understanding within my own experience that, unless I'm in a place to answer a call to action, there's really not much for me to do, especially if I'm dealing with inner dark turmoil stuff, that first. And then the calls will be pure, it will be, and you'll know what to do. It won't be, oh my gosh, just so overwhelming. I've got to get on this noble cause bandwagon. Well, you're just going to be placing another structure over a decrepit structure. So, deal with your inner stuff first, and life will bring about what there is to do from there. You can't really do something from an emotionally challenged place.
That's right.
You're projecting the contents of your shadow, which we all are all the time until we've owned our shadow.
Right.
Then everything coming into your life is is your own movie picture from inside that you haven't been willing to go look at. So now the way life works is you project it on the movie screen outside, and it's showing up as your life story. It's happening to you. And until that stops happening, there is no creating your own reality. But once you own your shadow pieces enough, because it's a lifetime process, but once you get enough imbalance, then the star, the infinite potential, can unfold through you because you're integrous with life. You are not integrous. When you are running from the truth of you, life cannot trust you to live in you as you. That's just how it is.
That's right. And that's what we've been talking about. The way through is the Shadowland. That is our ticket to freedom, is integrating all the aspects of ourselves, bringing it all back to wholeness within our being. And we all want that, right? I mean, we want freedom, true freedom. What is true freedom? True freedom is within. I mean, you can be in a prison and you can be totally free.
And that you're free, you understand the value of that, and when you're in relationship with others, you allow them that freedom as well because you value it in your own experience so highly. So you're not sitting there trying to control everybody else and try to make, everyone that, like if there's someone that you want to control, well, that person needs that experience. So why would you want to take that away from them? You start thinking on that level of for the good of all. For the highest good, instead of like, I want this and everybody should want what I want, my utopia, and it doesn't work like that.
Imposing our wills on each other,
yeah.
Dumping. I mean, this is mainly what's out there. We're projecting, we're dumping, we're taking no responsibility. It's a sewer. I mean, I just met a guy today. He spent his whole life as a lone wolf. I live in a valley of lone wolves. Why? These people just gave up that there was even any hope of getting through this stuff. And there is no hope of creating community or family or relationship or anything until we stop projecting our shadow contents on and then having to find them on others. We're too muddied up. The filter is too thick with our own stuff. However, it is so easy to get through that relative to before, and life is just begging for more of us to show up. She's ready to ascend. She's with us to create just more and more dimensions of delicious joy and connectedness and juicy, sumptuous fun and a whole new story. It's time. We can do that, and we don't need to feel bad. I mean, we've been stuck in the mud for all these years, and we're all jerks, and we can all be, you know what, and we all have been, and we all still be, and okay, that's what the playing field has been. But do you want to keep doing that? I mean, it just takes opening our eyes, really. Opening our eyes to see what is purity and what is perversion. I mean, I say that to people and they get all their knickers in a knot that I call something perverted. When you're vampirizing someone's energy, or you're allowing your own energy to be vampirized, it is a perversion, because life cannot live in you in a pure form, in an allowing form, in a connected form. And she's longing to come into each. I mean, she created us all. She, he, they created, I mean, it was for thousands, billions of years of evolution for us to be here. There's a huge love that the creators of the true life force, whatever you want to call it, has for us. This longing for us to move with it, he, she, it, however you look at it. I'm not talking about 40 gods. I'm talking about life itself. There's a huge call for us to really journey home after all of these. Yeah, it's all been here for us. I mean, even though the dark ones are trying to make it so impossible for us just to see it, and this is not an easy path. We're not trying to candy coat this and say this is easy. This is the biggest challenge. They say that this planet is the roughest place to be. I don't know that for a fact, but it's bloody difficult. But but we, yeah. The joy, the being in love with life, what Christina describes. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's a huge joy that we get to live, and we get to live it here. We don't have to go off to another planet. We get to live that right here, right now, by just doing this inner work. Mm-hmm. Am I ranting? Yes, I think so. I apologize.
No.
Oh, my
Rant
God.
away.
Well,
we're all good, Liz. Yes, you're very passionate, which is beautiful, Sienna.
It doesn't even feel like me at that stage. It really feels like Ma just wants her children home, and she just loves so much. My higher self is connected to the Great Mother. That's just how I'm wired. I don't mean I'm the only one at all, but I am. And before I do the radio show, I pray. Because I don't want to do this from my ego. I mean, that wouldn't be very interesting. I'm feeling we're sharing a kind of urgency.
Yes.
Right now, a major, mega urgency. Not desperation. I don't mean, everybody has to get on a panic attack about it.
Yeah.
No. So I would like to spend, we only have 6 minutes. Let's see, we have, looks like 7 minutes. I feel like talking about self-love. How do we transmute this, Christina? How do we, what is this mechanism of self-love? Gabriella, I hope you listened to that show we did on Love Actually, called that show last week. Was that last week? It was like 10 years ago. That was so many wonderful practical tools for actually doing this, holding this deep space of allowance, taking responsibility for our feelings, for our self-love, for our thoughts, and cultivating this gratitude that you were talking about, Elizabeth. Cultivating it is a great inner discipline that opens a vast terrain of very wonderful life experience. It's completely open to us. And I'm just feeling to kind of end with more of those kinds of thoughts tonight, if either of you have any of those. I do also have this quote. I could run it. Let me read. This is Andrew Cohn, okay?
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah, that sounds
okay.
good.
Yeah. Andrew Cohn, to stand for spirit. What does it mean to be a spiritual hero? It is a bold and audacious idea, but I think that especially in our time, when there are many people looking for ways to step forward and make the world a better place, more and more of us are going to have to be willing to be just that in order to take responsibility for where it is that we are all going. We're going to have to be willing in all of our imperfections to be exemplary of what's possible, and to stand for spirit in a disbelieving world. When we awaken to the truth and the reality of spirit, we see much more deeply into the nature of who we are and into the nature of reality itself. And it is there that we can discover a fearless courage to live this life for the highest reasons and to be a representative of that deeper and higher reality in this world. I have no doubt that the degree to which any one of us is willing to do that is the degree to which we're going to have a real impact on the future of our evolving consciousness and culture. Yeah. So thank you, Elizabeth and Christina, because as far as I'm concerned, you are two women that are making your lives like that. I'm not trying to do this on an egoic level. I really don't mean it that way, or like, sucking up to, or rah-rah, or being stupid. But frankly, I think that there are unsung here amongst us that are quietly living their truth and are clearing a path for all of us. And each one of you that does it will clear a path. Don't you agree with that, you two? That's how it's working?
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're in the process of birthing ourselves, and we're midwifing one another through this process. It's very important that we support each other through this, I feel.
Yeah, we're freeing ourselves from a construct that's been overlaid for, I don't know about you guys, but maybe lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And kind of rising like the phoenix out of the ashes,
Yeah. Oh, well, they're trying to eat your feet for dinner.
They got nothing on us. They got nothing on us.
But now it is like, it is the birthing time. You feel that. It's like we're in labor. Change is here. It really is here. And freedom is through the birth canal. It's through that dark canal at Shadowland, through that. There's where we find the freedom, and then we birth ourselves, and we rise and shine like the star that we are, right?
Yes, I love this at Shadowland Forum because there's so. And Christina is, even as busy as she is, and she's mega busy. She's always posting beautiful, but there are other people that are posting the most beautiful gifts to one another. We need to support each other in this birthing process. It's nice to have people around that get it, that want you to be you. That's the thing. Aren't huge. Sabotaging that, aren't vampirizing you, aren't. Yeah, it is huge. Wherever you can find it, even one person can help you to get through. That one person has to be you initially. That I'm not trying to say run around trying to find the one person, but when you've made that commitment to yourself, and then there's someone else beside you that's doing that for him or her, wow, that's powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I like the part of the quote that talks about that we can discover a fearless courage to live this life for the highest reasons. Fearless courage, it does take that to face your own inner darkness and complicity with what has been, that we bought into these lies about what passes for compassion and love and realized that it wasn't really that. And so to rise beyond that and become who and what we truly are, it's fearless courage. It is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Feels so good. It really, really does feel so beautiful to hold that space. And then the reaction that I get when I hold that space from other people, they're so grateful because you're just so neutral and present for them. And you're not laying your trip, or you're really a nurturing force in the universe. We love you all. Please join us next. The weight of the world was on my shoulders. Pressure to break or retreat at every turn. Facing the fear that the truth I discovered. No telling how all this will work out, but I've come too far to go back now. I am looking for freedom, looking for freedom, and to find it cost me everything I had. Well, I am looking for
the doubt is so strong. There's gotta be a wind in my bones. I'm looking for freedom, looking for freedom, and to find that cost me everything I have. Well, I'm looking for freedom. I'm looking for freedom, and to find that may take everything I have.
Oh, not giving up has always been hard, so hard. But if I do that, stays away, I won't get far. Life hasn't been very kind to me lately,
Well,
but I suppose it's a push for moving on.